Hi everyone, using the leftover beads from my Disney Villains Purler Beads kit, I'm going to make some of the symbols from the Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. One, because I have two sets of the same thing, and I want to get rid of at least one of the packaging boxes or whatever for one kit. The one that I've already done the Purler bead designs for, and you may notice, if it wasn't too quick, but I showed you all the Purler bead designs I'd already done. One of them I'm currently using, so that's why you didn't see one of the Ursula ones from the box, because I was currently using that. But anyway, right now I'm doing the Ladybug one, because I didn't want to grab my phone out for this one and look at a reference image, so I just kind of made this one up because I thought this would be the easiest one to, do without a reference image. And then and the following ones are very similar, and I now want to redo this square. So, which I might do later. But anyway, if you don't know how Purler beads work and you've never done them, they are little plastic beads, and you put them on a pegboard, and I believe this pegboard, if I remember correctly, is 17 pegs by 17 pegs, each of the squares you see, separately, kind of thing. So, you put these little beads on this pegboard, and then you use wax paper, cooking paper, parchment paper, any of those work, and an iron, and the parchment paper so that you don't glue, or the beads don't melt to the iron you're using. And with the heat from the iron, it melts all the beads together, so it was once multiple little beads is now a solid piece. Often used for we often use them for coasters. And at the time, I also needed to iron the hem of this design here of my punch needle thing, so I thought, since I had the iron out, might as well do that as well. And everything, and I have to sew this later. I'll have to sew the hem down later, and I'm just debating, do I do it with a machine or do I do it by hand? I just don't know if it's too thick for what I have for my sewing machine, so that's why I'm just like, but if I hand sew it, it's gonna look ugly. I'm not as great at hand sewing, so that's why I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to sew that together. I'd like to use the machine, I just don't know if it's too thick. But anyway, now I'm doing the next one, which is the paw print for Cat. However, I didn't have a whole lot of green on me, or green option here, so I went with a light blue instead of a green for the paw print. I hope the super fans out there aren't bothered that on the fact that I changed the color of the paw print and everything. And I use both Cricut tweezers and just manually with my hands, because when I was little I didn't use tweezers. I just used my hands for placing the beads in there, and I found that I worked faster without the tweezers. So there's a point where I wanted to switch it up so I didn't have pain in the bone that connects my thumb to the hand, whatever that bone is, which sometimes I get sore because you're pinching. You're doing a lot of pinching with this craft. And oh my gosh, it's so frustrating when you're working hard on this and then you bump something and beads fall off and everything. So if you're someone who would get bothered by that, or is impatient or whatever, it's probably not the best craft. But it is relaxing and easy. I did these when I was a kid. I didn't iron them when I was a kid for obvious reasons, but I had my mom do that, and so now that I'm old enough to use an iron and be safe about it, I'm using that I do my own ironing for these Purler bead sets and everything. And there I'm trying to put another one of the pegboards over top, and then I kind of just sandwiched it and flipped it. Sandwiched the paper and the pegboard together and flipped it around, because I guess I picked the iron up off of it too early, and that's why the beads fell off. Now, I have seen videos of other people doing this, and a lot of them will just iron one side, and I'm like, what are you doing? If you only iron one side, there's a higher chance it's gonna break on you. So I like to iron both sides, and I do prefer the over melted look. So it's less pixelated and everything. So this is what I'm doing, and you're supposed to put when you do the iron, you do it it's recommended in circular motions kind of thing. So that is what I'm doing. And now in between the paw print and this one I'm currently doing, the iron is not plugged in to the outlet. For those of you who might be concerned about that, I unplugged the iron in between pieces that I made like this. So yes, it's not going to be warm enough when I finish this right away, but we are not gonna have to worry about any fire or anything like that. Not that that would be the case. It's a pretty new iron. It's not like an old iron, but just for safety reasons, when I was working on a piece like this, I had unplugged it, and then once it was done, I plugged it back in. So I did debate doing multiple and then iron them all at once, but then you run the risk of it falling apart before you get a chance to iron it and everything. So, and with this one, my two purples, I was like, oh my gosh, these are really close in shade. I really hope that you can actually see the butterfly in here. And it's not hidden because they're just two versions of a lighter purple almost. One slightly darker, but once it melted together, it looks more, you can actually see it better, see the butterfly part better and everything. And now I'm doing the monkey Miraculous, and I surprisingly had the correct colors for it. So some of them I could not do. Arena Rouge, for example, has a lot of orange, and I just don't have that much orange. So I had to eliminate some of the ones I wanted to do. Carapace is another one I wanted to do, but didn't have enough green for. So this is this piece here, and some of those circles are not completely symmetrical, so that's slightly annoying, but let's try and ignore it. And then here I am. I used gray for the corners because it's not my favorite shade. It's one of my least favorite shades. I'm sorry to those who like the color, but that shade, I don't really care for the gray, but it looks good on the corners. It looks good as a frame. So that's why I specifically just used that as the corner pieces. And I had two shades of gray. So I had a darker shade and a lighter shade. So, yeah. So here I am just doing circular motions with my iron and everything. And as I'm doing this, I'm wondering, do I need to fill the water up? I don't know. In there. And as you can see, I've unplugged it in between these. And for this one, I'm like, okay, two of these colors I'm confident I have enough of. However, it's the yellow where I'm like, oh my gosh, I really hope I have enough yellow and I don't have to there's a slightly lighter yellow, like this is a more like mustard yellow, and there's like a pastel yellow as well, which doesn't have as much. So I'm like just hoping I do not have to go to the lighter yellow and then have to try and figure out how I can blend them together in a way that doesn't look obvious. So I did this where I counted how many beads were in each row of which color and kind of thing. You can see me putting everything together there and hoping and praying I don't break this one. Anyway, here I am trying to iron it, and when I looked up videos of other people doing them, someone mentioned that some beads have a different melting rate than others, which makes so much sense, because some of them I'm like, oh my gosh, why is it not melting? Well, some of the colors melt faster, I guess, than others. I don't know why, but apparently that's a thing that happens, and it actually does make a lot of sense. So yeah, I went with the bee one as well here with Queen Bee, Pollen's one there. So I'm hoping round 2 that I iron it well enough that I don't break it apart again, which that was a lot of work to put back together. You know, it took me quite a few minutes. Now each of these coasters, depending on how fast I'm going, takes about 30 minutes to an hour, and how much detail it has. So here I am just ironing it out, and yes, some people don't like the over iron look, but I do, or the over melted look, but I do. So you'll notice a lot of them are over melted. And now I'm taking the extra pieces from this kit and putting them into a organizer I bought a couple years ago, and so that I can throw out that packaging type of thing. So, and then that organizer stores some of the pegboards for this craft, but not all of them, so I had to stuff the rest of them into the packaging from the newer kit I had. And this is a kit my friend got me for my last birthday, so shout out to you. Thank you. I'm finally using it. Sorry, it took me so long to use it. I just wanted to make sure I had a good idea of what I could do with it. I didn't want to waste the materials on something I didn't know what I was doing with. So I was actually surprised at how many so far. I think I can still do a couple more miraculous symbols I could get with these bead color selection. So here I am. This set also comes with an extra bag of mismatched beads, so I can't resist, but I have to organize them. So I took that piece, the plastic piece that I'm organizing them into out of the recycling for the sake of this video here, and I'm sorting them all, and thankfully I had enough pockets for all the beads that were in this bag. So that kind of thing. So then I kind of stacked the two trays on top of each other, and now I'm finding the next design I want to do and everything. So taking out some of my I'm putting in some of my, I have like 6 of these darker green beads. However, there's not enough to make like an entire design with them. They were extra from a dollar store kit I had, which I did that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have extra of the color of the shade I don't need, and not of the one that I needed. It was one of those scenarios. So I'm probably not going to buy a perler bead kit from the dollar store again, because I didn't have enough of the right bead color. You know, I needed more light green than dark green in that one, and I had more dark green than light green. I ran out the light green or something along those lines. And now I'm doing Sass's miraculous symbol, or Luca's miraculous symbol, and I had first put the beads, just the darker blue beads, just one peg over than they should have been. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? What's wrong here? Something's wrong. So I don't know if you caught that, but I had to switch the beads over. Anyway, and now I brought out the Hades one that I had done in the past, because I wanted to see what they look like when they were melted together, and so I didn't run into the issue with the butterfly one like I did before. So here is the snake one, and because there were slashes for the snake's eyes, I decided to change those slashes to like dark brown beads. I didn't have a whole lot of dark brown beads left over from my Toy Story kit that I had. So that is what I decided to use for the eyes of the snake. That was my own decision. Oh yeah, and I took the pegboard off and realized I had super duper melted the beads there, and I actually had to take pieces of the melted plastic off of the pegboard. Whoops. I do like the end result, but this one is like one of the thinnest ones because I over melted it. Like over melted it. Like the gray beads are like smushed. Like you can't even tell they were once beads at the end. Anyway, now I'm doing, I believe this is Bunnix, the bunny miraculous one. So that's what I'm doing now, and I decided to I went with the gray, then the black, then the blue, then I did the inside black outline as well there, and then ended off with white in the middle. So that is how I've put everything together. So I hope my fellow Miraculous fans like this video, and and hopefully, if you haven't thought about perler beads in a while, it kind of makes you a little nostalgic, kind of thing. So yeah, this is a craft I used to do a lot as a kid, so I've got nostalgia for it. So the only problem is I don't know what to do with these beads now, or these coasters now. And everything is just, originally I wanted to make it into a box, like a 3D box, but then I'm like, I've over melted these are not going to stick together the way I melted them, and some of them are like warping and everything, which is a common problem I have with perler beads. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know if it's the fact that I over melted or what, but here is all of them together so far that I've done. So these are there, and as you can see, I'm taking all the beads from that old tray and putting them into my reusable organizer kind of thing. Now, originally I was going to keep the pockets that had a lot of beads in there just as is in there, but then I'm like, no, I want to get rid of this packaging. I need to declutter because my birthday is coming up in September, and I want to get rid of the crafts I have owned for a while, and then so I have room for new ones, kind of thing, you know? So that is why it's me putting all the beads back into the container. Oh, when I first recorded this, I kept putting my finger on the speaker, and so it was like making glitchy noises, but I re-recorded it just recently because I didn't like the results. So yeah, this is all of them together in the final